So, Soundpaint, what is it and should you try it? Well, to give you the bottom line straight away, yes, I think you should try it, particularly, although not exclusively, if you are interested in ambient type music. Another reason for trying it is free. Now, I know in my last video I discussed whether getting something for free on the internet was actually free. Now, this program you do have to register. I did say in the last video that I was quite happy to do this if I thought something was particularly cool or interesting. I do think this is worthwhile. So what exactly is Soundpaint? Well, the best way I can think of to describe it is it's a sample player with synthesizer type controls. It also has a range of what I think are pretty cool and also some unique features. Now, as I say, this is free, so I can see no reason why you should not at least try it. It runs as a VST plugin, and there's also a standalone version, and with the sample player you get a free Steinway 1928 piano. But it's not just a straight piano, there are all sorts of synthesizer type effects and processors applied to it. Now, as well as that, I have discovered two other free instruments. Now, I call them hidden because Soundpaint didn't send me an email saying, if you're enjoying Soundpaint, here's a couple of free instruments you can try. At least if they did, I didn't get the memo. I sort of stumbled across them by accident, but I will show you exactly where to find them and how to install them. And again, if you like ambient, I think you will like these as well. Now, if you want to know more about Soundpaint in detail, I can do no better than to point you to the Soundpaint YouTube channel and a particular tutorial which gives you an overview of the software. Link, of course, in description. So I am not going to go into any great detail about the program, but I will give you a very brief overview, pointing out what I think are some cool features and some of its unique selling points. And I also play a few of the presets so you can get an idea of the sort of sounds it produces, at least the free instruments. Now, I heard about Soundpaint from Guy Mitchellmore, and if you've seen some of my other videos, you'll know I'm a big fan of Guy. He's a media composer, and he was using Soundpaint to write a sort of orchestral score. So although I think the free instruments are ideally suited to ambient type music, there are a host of other instruments which unfortunately you do have to buy, which would allow you to create a greater range of sounds. Now, Soundpaint was developed by sample library producer 8dio, which has been around for a long time, and they have produced dozens, probably hundreds of sample libraries. And if you're going to explore the 8dio site and the Soundpaint site, then 8dio has a couple of free sample libraries you can also download. They are, I think, a bit long in the tooth now, but hey, they are free. So the point is, the company has a lot of expertise in sample libraries and sample playback instruments. So they've obviously produced something which they think was lacking, and I think I would probably have to agree with them there, and something which is interesting and inspiring to play. Okay, enough of the intro. Let's head over to the music machine and we'll see what Soundpaint's about and listen to some of the sounds. Now, I have been experimenting with a slightly different microphone technique, so if this demo sounds a little bit different to some of the previous videos, that's why. So the first cool thing, I think, is the fact that you can totally resize the window just by dragging this corner. Not many instruments, VST instruments, actually have resizable GUIs. So I think this is great. If you have a high-res monitor, you can pop it up in the corner. If you want to see it in detail, you can just drag it down. So I think that's cool. So you also have a choice of skins, I guess, called night and day. This is night. You might want to shade your eyes for this one. This is day. Now, if you've seen some of my other videos, you'll know that I have a degenerative eye condition. This is like someone shining a floodlight into my face. I can't actually see much about what's going on there, but you might find that one preferable. I'm going to switch over to night and keep it there. Okay, so one of Soundpaint's major claims to fame is that it supports 127 velocity levels. Now, I haven't gone into this in any detail, but I suspect they use a sort of interpolation algorithm to fill in any gaps between velocity levels which may be recorded in the sampled instruments. But if you have ever felt that your sampled instruments from your sample libraries just do not give you enough nuance, then this might be the solution. Now, we'll have a look at the instruments in a second, but you can see that they are listed by instrument category, and the ones which you actually have are in white or lighter text color. Now you can see the bars across the top of the GUI here. Now when I select a different instrument, it's loading a different sample, and the bars show you how long it's taken the sample to load. So you can see these bars just flashing across the top of the screen. These samples load incredibly quickly. Now, this is one of the problems with sample libraries. They often take a long time to load. If you've used Contact, which is probably the world's most popular sample library, if you want to change between the NKI instruments, it can often take several seconds, sometimes a good many seconds, depending on the instrument, of course, to load a new sampled instrument. This seems to do it within a fraction of a second. The other thing I really like, this might be a bit of a personal preference, but you can see I am switching between instruments without using the mouse, and I can step up and down between the instruments using the arrow keys on the computer keyboard, which is awesome. There's so many instruments, for some reason you have to click on tiny little grey triangles to select the next or the previous preset. Now, not every instrument is like that, but many are. But the ability to select instruments just by stepping up and down between them with the arrow keys greatly increases the speed of your workflow. And the other great thing about the way this works is when you select the instrument, it is in fact selected. That's probably not a very good code. So the point is that as soon as you select an instrument, it is there ready to play. So in Complete Control, for example, which I use and which I love to bits, you can step through the presets with the up and down arrows, which is fantastic, and you get a little preview of the sound of the instrument, of the sound of the preset. However, if you've done this, you will know that the preview is not always a particularly good representation of the instrument. It sort of gives you a clue of what it might sound like, but you can't play it across the keyboard until you actually select the instrument, which you have to do by pressing the enter key or double clicking on the instrument, and that can take a little while to load, or a few seconds certainly, and then you can play it and see what it sounds like. These are instruments which the program calls programs, but each program can consist of up to 4 parts. You select the parts up here, and the parts appear in the display here. And another cool function of the way this works is that there is a morph function, so you can actually morph between the parts. Now, I love morphs. I love the sound you get when one sound gradually changes into another. So I think this is a really great feature. It would be nice if perhaps if there was an XY controller of some sort. Moving further down, there's a couple of racks here which hold different effects. There's an LFO and an ADSR. Again, as I say, I'm not going to go into any detail. There's also an arpeggiator, which we'll hear in a second. It also has about 20, I think, built-in effects, which are actually really pretty good. And these are in a sampler, a sample-based instrument rather than a synthesizer. So that's really cool. And the last thing I'm just going to mention is the mod matrix, which you can see here. I'm just pointing this out. I'm not going to go into any detail at all, but using the mod matrix, you can modulate various things with various other things. Okay, so that's just some of the cool and neat features which I think this has. Let's have a listen to some of the sounds. Now, when you install Soundpaint, you get this Steinway 1928 piano. And the very first preset is the piano with an arpeggio. This also latches, you can't see, but I don't have my hands on the keyboard at the minute. I'm just a sucker for a good arpeggiator, and this is pretty simple, but I think that combined with the sound of the piano is pretty good. Let's step on to the next one. Okay, this is interesting. Part of the sound has been reversed, so it's got an interesting flavour to it. Bit reverb and delay. So you can see why I think this is sort of quite suitable for ambient stuff. I know you can add delay and reverb to just about anything and it sounds ambient, but I really like the sound of this piano, and adding the delay and reverb does make it very ambient. Not sure about that one. But the basic piano sound, I think, is really good. I have dozens and dozens of pianos, so that they all have their own tone and character. So some of them suggest different sorts of music lines. This one I really do like, especially some of the ambient settings. Okay, so we can step through a few of the... Oh, there's another arpeggiator. There's another one, slightly slower. So you can just about create an ambient piece of music using this. I think this sounds wonderful. So there's lots of variations here. I just want to give you a little sample of the sounds that this produces. As it's free, you can download it and experiment with it yourself. But before we leave this, I will just go over to the hidden programs, as I call them. So after installing, they appear in the custom design section. Now each key plays a different sample in this particular program. So this has one sample assigned to each key. They are not all like that. A couple of them are. This is more of the same. We have different samples assigned to different keys. See if we can find something more traditional, shall we say. Oh, Now there's a nice piano. With a delay on it. Another one. Sort of wobbly sound. Interesting. Anyway, I just wanted to give you a bit of a flavour. We've only been through half a dozen of these presets. I just think they're really inspirational, particularly if you like ambient type sounds. And there are two of these. I call them hidden, but I shall explain how to find them and how to get them and how to load them into Soundpaint. So, as you can probably gather, I think this is pretty cool and well worth investigating, particularly as it costs you no money. So the link to the Soundpaint site is in the description. Follow the instructions, sign up for an account and download the software. Now I will show you where to find these two hidden instruments. So this is how to find the so-called hidden free instruments. If you go to Soundpaint and the Soundpaint shop, I will give you a direct link to this in the description. You can see that there are a host of different instrument types. These correspond to the categories in Soundpaint itself. So if you scroll through these, you will see that most, well, in fact all of the instruments apart from the two I'm going to point out at the time of making this video cost a few dollars. The average price seems to be somewhere between $30 and $50, although some of them are less. I think one or two or more. So you can scroll through and see if there's any instruments which you fancy buying. And if not, if you want to try some more things for free, you go down to custom design. So there are two free instruments here, Free Angels and Free ASMR. You click this button to add them to your cart. Now this is what you will see. Add to cart. I have already added these to my cart and downloaded them, so I get a slightly different message. But you would click on these buttons to add them to your cart. When you've done that, when you next load Soundpaint, you will be asked if you want to install these new instruments. You select the folder path you want to install them into and click OK, and off it goes. So it's a pretty automatic process. Now you might want to continue scrolling down just to see if there are any more hidden freebies. At the moment, as I say, there are not, but there's some interesting looking and sounding instruments if you want to add those to your library, and some of them don't cost an awful lot if you want to experiment with them. So if you have enjoyed this video, perhaps you would like to consider subscribing to the channel, ringing the bell. Thank you, so you get informed of new videos as soon as I release them. It's all about electronic music synthesizers and that sort of lovely musical stuff. Clicking the big thumb as well is a big help. As always, I really do appreciate you spending time watching my videos and listening to my music. So for that, thank you very much indeed. I will see you in the next one. I'd just like to play us out with about 30 seconds of ambient, reverbed, delayed, arpeggiated Steinway 1928 piano.